Today I'm in Putney at the SBC offices with RASMUS SOJMARK and Andrew McCARRON, CEO and founder and managing director. Thank you very much for agreeing to talk to us today, guys.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, can you tell us what SBC or Sports Betting Community actually does, please?
Yeah. I mean, it's an industry gathering of sports betting professionals. That is just a way of bringing the sports betting industry together, I think. Whereas there's been a lot of focus in the past on casino, poker, and other types of gambling products and services, and sports betting was for many years a bit overlooked, and I think at that point we just started sort of wanting to bring people together to show that there was still very much a very big interest in the sports betting side, and hence the community was created, and it's just sort of grown from there.
Is when you say sports betting, is that anything apart from the traditional horse racing grounds? Is it all encompasses?
Just all of it.
Yeah, just any betting really. I mean, sports betting is more of a traditional European phrase, whereas in the UK we'd say betting and gaming to differentiate them both. But no, whenever we've been doing it, it's fixed odds bets, it's pool betting, any betting on any sport, or even sort of politics and any other kind of events, which differentiates from the gaming side of things, which is more your poker games, your card games, your roulette, your slots, that sort of thing.
Right. Okay. Well, you've just celebrated 10 years anniversary, big party, if I'm correct. So how did you start? How did you two meet, and why did you decide to set up the business?
Well, I'm late to the party really for SBC, aren't I? You started it off very small.
Well,
really.
The funny thing is, I mean, I think we met in Montreal.
At Gigsy, was it?
Yeah, Gigsy in 2006, 7? No, 7 definitely. Because I just moved to London in 2007, and I remember we met in Aldgate East.
Okay.
Where at that point I was located, and we met in the pub downstairs where you did an interview.
I don't remember this.
That's kind of like a follow-up interview from our, fun conversation in Montreal where we met.
That's where Graham introduced us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So Andy, you came late to the party, but to the party you brought a big network in the betting industry. Is that correct?
Well, I mean, that's where we work quite well together. I mean, I've been working in and around sort of the retail betting for quite a long time in the UK. Raz's background is very much on the online side of things, so we're we meshed quite well. But as the industry's progressed, I mean, so much has gone online, and retail's suffering a lot more. Certainly, some of the stuff we address is much more online than retail, but we do try and keep a lot of focus on the retail side of things, because it's still important. It's still getting used. It's just a bit of it's easier to make money online these days.
Okay, now I've only been going 10 years. You're the largest business-to-business news publisher of betting and gaming. There's quite a rapid rise, or is it not?
I suppose we've come a long way in a short time, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we started SBC News just as a bit of a side thing to the social gatherings we're doing, just to provide a bit of news on an ongoing basis. But certainly, when you joined in
2014,
there you go, quite a few years ago, it sort of was with an aim to sort of kick it off more and have more of an attention to the news side with Andy, who was, in my point of view, the best sports betting journalist. So hence, I approached you to have a chat about how we could work together on this.
Yeah, he's always had good judgment that way.
From you now employ 10, if I'm right, full-time journalists.
I think it's 10 or 11.
And
it's about 12 now, isn't it?
Oh, we're growing. We keep finding. We keep launching new sort of news portals as we found a niche. If there's an area that's we don't feel is being serviced enough, and there's it makes commercial sense, we've moved into those areas, trying to service it. It's essentially what we do with sports betting. We didn't feel anybody was servicing it correctly, So we started that off, and the market's responded to it. So I mean, our latest endeavour is a payment expert. It's one of those areas where, you know, everybody's got payment methods, but doesn't really get the coverage. And we even added a bit into our recent Betting on Football conference, and that was your brainchild, and it got a really good response.
Yeah. So how do the portals work for people that don't know?
Just basically news every day. It's more, you know, every day there's one sort of long form feature, but it tends to be more regular news. This is what's happening. I mean, that's the beauty of sports betting, is it's so dynamic. There's always something to write about, which is why we never have any shortage of stuff to cover at our conferences.
Well, you say that you got 60 news stories published every day.
That's the idea, yeah. It's I mean, you looked at our numbers just yesterday, was it?
Yeah, it's certainly growing. I think across the network, which we call it, consisting of SBC News, SBC Americas, SBC Events, Casino Beats, Payment Expert,
Insider
Sports
Sport,
Insider,
yeah.
Affiliate Insider, and Insider Sports, which you just mentioned. I think we're looking around almost close to just short of 200,000 unique users a month, which is quite good when it's a B2B network with people coming to read about the industry, not a consumer focused. It's purely B2B focused, and yeah, it's about 500,000 page impressions a month.
Yeah.
It's a good amount of traffic, and if you look at when you kick off a B2B site, you have to grow an audience, gain the credibility from the masses to want to come to your news portal as providing the credible news. You're looking at least a year to build up just a small following, so having, you know, close to 200,000 now is I think quite an achievement. And
to be honest with you, a couple of those brands are still quite fledgling, so you know, there's a lot of growth there still to be had, because we're at the early stages of its life cycle. So it's it's not unfeasible to think that goes up to 250 by the end of the year. I mean, the beauty about the news portals is they mesh so well with the events that we do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And is it behind the paywall, or is it free?
It's all free.
It's all free content. I mean, as you just mentioned, obviously it's a nice way for us, as you know, our events are very content focused, very conference focused. So if you create an event over a couple of days, you have 200 speakers. I mean, it's over in 2 days, but you discuss so many great things. How can you continue that conversation? By having all these news portals and, you know, as part of the media network, we can continue that discussion and conversation throughout the year. And I think that's quite an important factor of what we're doing.
Yeah,
that sort of ties it all together, news, media, and events in a very nice way.
And you organise some massive global events now. I mean, it must be a logistical nightmare to do that. I mean, why is the need for face-to-face or things like that when it's so easy to Skype or have conference calls, or, you know, is a big seminar something that people?
Well, I mean, seminar, conference, big exhibition thing. It's I mean, we had 2,500 at Betting on Sports, the last one. I mean, networking. Networking's the key to business. We find in the gambling industry, you know, and that's where you've always excelled.
I think you always have this discussion around, you know, face-to-face, how important is it? But I think, you know, there's nothing that beats actually meeting up with people, having a good conversation, and, you know, just strengthening and building on those relationships. You can have Skype calls, you can Slack, or you know, you can use WhatsApp and call them on the mobile and whatnot. But at the end of the day, I mean, you have to meet in person. You have to show that you can spend that time and talk to people, and you know, yeah, it certainly is important, because if you keep just thinking that you can avoid attending events or meeting up in person, I mean, you can't really say that you have that same type of relationship that I think that comes from actually meeting people in person. So, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you'd even question yourself whether you're actually in the gaming community if you didn't go to these gatherings and meeting new people. I mean, meeting somebody who you then go on to have business with is much easier than and having a Skype conversation or an email conversation with somebody. It smooths the whole transaction and makes it easier to do business.
I mean, when you go to ICE, you see how big the industry is, just with all the. And you were very active there. Was that an important part of your year?
I think that's an important part of everyone's year, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It's the biggest event in the gambling industry, so definitely.
Now, you also deliver content and advertising platform for operators, suppliers, service providers, and affiliates to promote their brand, businesses, and products, etc. Now, talking about affiliates, has that bubble burst, or do they just have to try a lot harder now?
I think it's just corporatized a lot more. I mean, you've seen companies like Better Collective, Gambling.com, Group, even Excel Media, who are already listed. But they've been on big acquisition trails, and they've got the compliance teams that make sure the affiliates are now following the new rules. But no, it's just got harder. It's just got harder as it's become more professional. I mean, that's the crux of it, I would say. I mean, certainly in New Jersey, for example, they have to be licensed there. They're not licensed over in the UK. All the emphasis is on the operators to do so, making sure their affiliate network is playing ball, shall we say, and within the realms of good practice. And as the pressure's squeezed on them, it's just become harder and a bit less fun, but a bit more professional.
How much of your business is UK based? Your clients, I should say.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of them based in the UK, but I wouldn't say they're necessarily a service in the UK market.
Obviously, as well as we have had SBC News on a .co.uk, people often looked at us as a UK company, and we obviously done good business here in the UK. But I mean, as you mentioned, a lot of them have a base in the UK, but it's a lot more international than UK.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. It's a good base for us as well. It's nice facilities, in terms of events you can organise in London, and it's a great place to come when you want to do a global event or try and do it, on an international level, that people can fly in from all parts of the world. It makes it a good place to.
Yeah, I mean, our London-based shows. They're actually more of a European audience than the UK audience. I mean, don't get me wrong, the UK audience is important to it, but if all of a sudden nobody from the UK came to the show, it'd still be around.
Yeah, I noticed that you've got offices in Manchester, London, and then in Ukraine and Poland. Why the Eastern European?
We used to have in Ukraine.
Our Ukraine team relocated.
we also just actually set up an office in the US.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's a little bit of New Jersey, New York. We incorporated. We just need to decide 100%
and
where we're going to base it. But back to Poland. As we started out, initially we had another business which was called Odds Life, which is a social gaming technology company. So I used to do a lot of product development and project management around building this sort of very unique platform, starting out back in 2009. At that point, I had developed an office in Bangkok, and as the year went by, it was a bit difficult. It got more and more difficult, to be honest. So I hired a UK CTO, and he was from Poland. And we were working together in the office just up New Kings Road for a couple of years, and he suggested that if he moved back to Poznan, he could gather some of his old team members, which was very, very good developers, and put together a very strong team that could scale from there. And we had a few discussions around it, and it seemed to make good sense. And he was a great CTO, and he did a lot of good work coming into the company and taking over from the previous developers. So we sort of went ahead with that, and I think we now have about 10, 11 full-time developers. and they're now working a little bit of a mix between some of the different projects. But what we're obviously doing with having the development side is we actually created our own conference app, and we're looking at building more on the websites to improve the further experience you have when using the news portal. So it's coming in very handy.